How do you go from riding Bentleys to getting eviction notices, from platinum plaques to pink foreclosure slips? Because believe it or not, some of your favorite rappers, the ones who made millions flexing in mansions, lost it all behind closed doors. Juelz Santana, Birdman, Lil Kim. They weren't just rich, they were industry rich. Private jets, iced out watches, gated estates. But when the cameras stopped rolling, bills started piling up. Lawsuits, tax drama, missed mortgage payments, and just like that, the dream crumbled. And here's the wildest part. Some of these rappers still front like they're living large. Meanwhile, the banks were changing the locks on their front doors. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on 9 rappers who got foreclosed on. And trust me, this isn't just about money. It's lawsuits, betrayal, jail time, and some serious ego crashes. Because when you mix hip-hop flash with financial trash, things get messy. So what really happened? How did it all go so wrong? Let's talk about it. We've been sold a dream. The mansion, the Lambo, the designer drip. In hip-hop, if you don't look like money, you ain't money. But here's the twist nobody wants to talk about. Most of it, smoke and mirrors. A lot of these rappers don't own those million-dollar homes. They're financed, rented, or bought with loans they can barely keep up with. The private jets, leased for a day, the stacks of cash on Instagram, props or front money that disappears just as fast as it came. The truth is, fame doesn't equal financial literacy. And that flashy lifestyle, it's expensive as hell. So when the hit records stop charting and the tour money slows down, the expenses don't magically go away. And to make things worse, some rappers spend more time fighting lawsuits than making music. Child support battles, label beef, IRS drama, it all adds up fast. So while the world is hyped on the image, behind the scenes, the repo truck is circling the block. Ready to see how bad it really got? Let's talk about the game, the mansion, the lawsuits, and the beef that literally cost him his house. When the game said he woke up in a new Bugatti, what he forgot to mention was that he might not have a garage to park it in. Because behind all that gangsta bravado and mansion living, Game was quietly drowning in legal drama, unpaid debts, and a whole lot of bad blood. Let's rewind. Back in 2013, the Game bought himself a $1.5 million mansion in Calabasas. You know, that exclusive area where celebs go to flex privacy and poolside selfies. By 2019, that same mansion was listed as pre-foreclosure. What happened? Well, for starters, the mortgage alone was $5,000 a month. And apparently, even with hit records and reality TV checks, that became too much. But the real chaos? A lawsuit from fellow rapper 40 Glock. Game had been ordered to pay Glock after an altercation. Yep, they fought. Game tried to settle the debt for $170,000, but Glock wasn't having it. He wanted all his money, and when Game didn't pay up, a lien got slapped on his house. So now, not only could he not keep up the mortgage, but his property was legally tied up in a rap beef-turned-courtroom saga. Real estate and street drama don't mix, y'all. Eventually, the house was foreclosed on. And just like that, the Calabasas dream crumbled. Hope Game kept receipts for those exotic cars, because they probably needed a new driveway too. This was just the beginning of a long list of rappers who couldn't keep up with the lifestyle they flexed so hard. Up next, let's talk about someone who had everything going for him, until he didn't, and both Johnny Law and the bank came knocking. You'd think being a part of Dipset royalty would come with some financial security, right? Not for Juelz Santana. This man went from rap stardom to foreclosure notices, all while sitting behind bars. In 2018, Juelz got hit with a 27-month prison sentence after he accidentally brought a loaded gun to the airport in his carry-on. TSA didn't even get a chance to say next before he dipped, literally ran out of the airport. It didn't take long before he turned himself in, but the damage was done. And while he was locked up in a Virginia medium-security prison, life outside wasn't treating him any better. His $500,000 New Jersey condo, the same one he bought back in 2005, was going into foreclosure. Why? He hadn't paid the $3,000 a month mortgage for over a year. Now, here's the wild part. The property had dropped nearly 50% in value, down to around $300,000. So not only was he behind on payments, he was upside down on the loan too, basically paying luxury prices for a shrinking asset while in jail. Talk about a double L, locked up and losing property. But that's nothing compared to the next rapper on this list, whose legendary party mansion became a foreclosure story years after his death. Next up, Eazy-E's estate, and how the NWA icon's legacy got auctioned off. Now this one is almost poetic. in a dark, messed up kind of way. Because Eazy-E didn't just lose his mansion, he lost it from the grave. Let's back up. Eazy-E passed away in 1995. But before that, he was living large in a 6,700 square foot Calabasas estate. This wasn't just a house, it was the spot. Wild parties, industry elites, NWA royalty. The place was legendary. There was even a black room with fluorescent pillows known as Eazy's Playhouse. Yeah, that kind of party house. After Eazy died from complications related to AIDS, he left the mansion to his wife, Tamika Wright. But here's where things took a turn. As years went by, the mortgage piled up, and in 2011, nearly 16 years after his death, Tamika fell behind by almost $200,000. The bank wasn't about to wait. The house was foreclosed and later auctioned off for $2.2 million. Just like that, a piece of hip-hop history was gone. No more Playhouse, no more West Coast royalty. It's almost surreal. Eazy built an empire from the streets to the suburbs, only for it to unravel posthumously. And it wasn't because of bad decisions he made, but the financial weight that came after the fame faded. As tragic as that may be, not all foreclosures are bad. Here's one rapper who walked away from his mansion on purpose. Let's talk Chamillionaire. Now this one's a little different, because Chamillionaire didn't get kicked out of his mansion. He gave it back. Yup. The Ridin' Dirty rapper basically pulled a financial U-turn and handed the keys to the bank in what some are calling the smartest foreclosure in hip-hop history. But was it really that smart? Or just another rapper realizing the lifestyle wasn't sustainable? Back in the mid-2000s, Chamillionaire bought a massive $2.3 million estate in a ritzy Houston neighborhood called The Woodlands. We're talking nearly 8,000 square feet of luxury, the kind of place where you'd expect to find indoor waterfalls and custom marble everything. But fast forward to 2010, the market tanked, the house lost value, and Chamillionaire realized he was barely ever home. Between tours and business ventures, he was paying millions just to keep the lights on in a house he didn't even use. So what did he do? He dipped, voluntarily gave the house back to the bank, said it wasn't worth the cost. And honestly, the move might have saved him from the kind of financial drama that swallowed his peers. He even claimed he moved into a new spot that cost him way less. Still fancy, just not money pit fancy. But here's the thing, for all that financial wisdom, people still side-eyed him. Like, did he really make a boss move? Or did he just quietly cut his losses before things got ugly? Either way, he got out cleaner than most. Unlike the next rapper on this list, who quite literally got stung by foreclosure. Let's talk about a queen who ruled the charts, but lost her castle, Lil Kim. Lil Kim may be the queen bee of rap, but even royalty can lose their throne. And in her case, it came with auction signs and back taxes. For years, Kim was living large in a $2.3 million New Jersey mansion, gated, glamorous, and dripping in luxury. But behind all that, a financial mess that even her fiercest fans didn't see coming. In 2018, Lil Kim filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy. She was drowning in debt, and court records showed she owed over $4 million, with a staggering $1.8 million just in back taxes. The IRS wasn't just knocking. They were basically kicking the door in. Now here's the kicker. When she missed a key mortgage payment, her creditor took her to court. At first, the judge gave her a second chance, warning her to get her finances together. And for a minute, it looked like she might just pull it off. But Queen Bee slipped again, another missed payment, and that was it. Her mansion went into foreclosure and was eventually auctioned off. Just like that. It's crazy when you think about it. One of the most iconic female rappers of all time, who helped shape the image of luxury and power in hip-hop, lost it all over unpaid bills and tax trouble. But don't worry, she's not the only one who made a buzz. Now, from one legend to another, let's talk Nas, who may have survived the charts but still got smacked by the IRS and a very public foreclosure. You'd think someone with lyrics as deep and wise as Nas would be immune to financial slip-ups, right? I mean, this is the guy who gave us Illmatic, not IOU-matic. But even the Queensbridge poet couldn't outrhyme the IRS. In 2012, Nas lost his Georgia home to foreclosure. It wasn't a massive estate, just a modest 2-bedroom, 3-bathroom property, but still, it was a clear sign something wasn't right. The home was auctioned off for around $348,000 after Nas defaulted on the loan. Now that might have flown under the radar if it wasn't for what came after, because that foreclosure, just the appetizer. The IRS came in swinging with a report that Nas owed a jaw-dropping $6 million in back taxes. $6 million. And you know Uncle Sam doesn't play around. The IRS started garnishing his wages, taking slices of his income directly from the source. Concert revenue, royalties, checks, all getting clipped before they hit his account. It was a humbling moment for a rap icon who had always been seen as more conscious, more calculated. But in the end, Nas made a comeback outside of music. He made a power move, investing early in Ring, that doorbell tech company. And when Amazon bought it for over $1 billion, yeah, Nas cashed in big. Talk about flipping the script. Still, even with that financial rebound, that foreclosure and tax drama showed that no amount of lyrical genius can protect you from the IRS when the receipts don't add up. But tangling with the IRS is a walk in the park compared to a full-on battle with them. That brings us to the next rapper on this list, who lost 2 homes, fought bankruptcy, and went toe-to-toe with the IRS. Let's talk about DMX and how real estate became one more battle in his long list of struggles. If foreclosure had a spokesperson in hip-hop, DMX might be it. Because when it came to financial chaos, courtrooms, and money pits, X didn't just visit, he lived there. At the height of his fame in the early 2000s, DMX was one of the biggest names in rap. Multi-platinum albums, blockbuster movies, sold-out tours. But even with all that money coming in, it was going out just as fast. Let's start with his 3,600 square foot home in Westchester County, New York. X bought it during his prime, but the house quickly turned into a sinking ship. He fought off foreclosure not once, but twice, including a desperate comeback in 2014 when he paid over $200,000 in loans to save it. But the victory was short-lived. By 2016, he filed for bankruptcy, claiming over $2 million in debt. A year later, things got worse when he pleaded guilty to owing $1.7 million in back taxes. The IRS was on him heavy, and there was no barking his way out of that one. And that's just one house. DMX also owned a Harlem townhouse he bought in 2001, thinking he'd renovate it into something special. Instead, it turned into a full-blown money pit. Delays, issues, and a half-finished renovation later, he tried to sell it in 2006. No one bit. Eventually, it was sold at auction for just $120,000, a massive loss, considering he originally dropped $750,000 on it. It was like every piece of real estate he touched turned into a burden. And honestly, that mirrored a lot of DMX's life. Raw talent, real pain, and a world that kept closing in. Speaking of pain, let's move on to someone who lost a house not through lawsuits, not through liens, but through pure ghosting. T-Pain didn't just lose a house, he didn't even bother showing up to court. Let's get into it. Now this wasn't about tax fraud, a bad investment, or a shady lawsuit. Nope, T-Pain lost his house for literally not showing up. Like, at all. Back in the day, T-Pain was printing money with hit after auto-tuned hit. But in 2016, things hit a sour note when his bank filed a lawsuit over a modest home he'd bought in Palm Beach County, Florida. We're not talking mega mansion either, just a regular house tied to an $85,000 loan. But here's where it gets embarrassing. The bank said T-Pain completely stopped making payments. No heads up, no negotiations, just vanished. So they took him to court. And when the court date came, T-Pain didn't show. At all. Not a lawyer, not a statement, nothing. The judge had no choice but to rule in favor of the bank by default, tacking on legal fees and interest. That $85,000 loan ballooned into a total of $117,000 owed, all because he ghosted the court like it was a bad Tinder date. It's wild. One of the biggest hitmakers of the 2000s, who gave us Buy You a Drank and Can't Believe It, literally lost a house over a few missed payments and just not bothering to respond. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't tragic, it was just plain sloppy. But the sloppiest and most ironic story of them all? That belongs to the man who built his empire flexing other people's money until he defaulted on his own. Let's wrap it up with Birdman, the mansion, the lawsuit, and a $2 million gold toilet that couldn't save him. If there was ever a rapper who treated luxury like a lifestyle and a personality trait, it was Birdman. The CEO of Cash Money Records had no problem showing off. Gold grills, diamond watches, private jets, and let's not forget, That infamous $2 million gold toilet. Yes, you heard that right, but all that glitz? It couldn't cover up the financial rot underneath. In 2012, Birdman dropped a jaw-dropping $14.5 million on a palatial Miami mansion, over 19,000 square feet of pure excess. The place had 2 pools, a private spa, a home theater, and everything a self-proclaimed mogul could dream of. But by 2017, the dream came crashing down. Birdman was slapped with a foreclosure lawsuit for defaulting on the loan used to buy the home. The lawsuit wasn't just about the mansion either. It also included an office space he was renting out, which he also failed to pay for. Altogether, the bill ballooned to over $12 million. That's not a typo. And in a humiliating twist, Birdman was ordered to vacate the mansion. Mr. Put Some Respect on My Name had to pack up and bounce. Now here's where it gets ironic. While Birdman was out here living large and allegedly shortchanging artists like Lil Wayne and Young Thug, his own empire was crumbling behind the scenes. Years of bad press about withheld royalties and shady contracts suddenly made a lot more sense. Some say it was karma, others say he just overplayed the image. But either way, the gold toilet didn't go with him. That stayed behind, probably as a monument to the Cash Money crash. And with that, we've covered 9 rappers who went from chart toppers to foreclosure floppers. But before we close the door, so what does all this tell us? Well, for starters, hip-hop wealth isn't always what it seems. We're talking about multi-millionaires losing homes over missed payments, legal drama, or just straight-up neglect. And the craziest part? Most fans never even knew it was happening because the image never cracked. But behind the Bentleys, the iced-out chains, and the poolside selfies, the truth is brutal. A lot of these artists were living paycheck to paycheck, just with bigger checks. Some fell victim to the classic traps: overspending, shady managers, never learning how money actually works. Others got hit by bad timing, lawsuits, or the IRS coming for their cut, and a few just let their egos write checks their accounts couldn't cash. It's easy to clown these stories, but here's the real takeaway. In hip-hop, wealth is often more about appearances than assets. And when the hype fades and the hits slow down, only the smart ones survive. Some of the names on this list bounced back, like Nas, who turned a foreclosure into a tech empire move. Others weren't so lucky. So next time you see someone flexing on the gram in a rented Rolls or standing in front of a mansion they don't even own, just remember, not everything that glitters is gold. And sometimes, it's just a gold toilet sitting in an empty house.